World War One. The notorious bloody war that ended with 10 million soldiers killed. What do you think of when you hear World War One? Trenches, Battle of the Somme, patriotic men marching to glory. Well, before they could even make it to the front line, they had to undergo vigorous combat training.
It's 19th of January 2015, -3 real feel. 100 years ago, 10,000 soldiers would be waking up in the morning in these tents out here at Happy Valley, ready to train.
My name's Steve Hudson, I'm a Coroner's Officer for West Sussex, based at Centenary House, which is in Durrington. Coroner's Service has been around since 1194, so it's the oldest jurisdiction, colonial jurisdiction out there. So it came in before civil courts, magistrates' courts, crown courts. Each jurisdiction has a senior coroner, as I've already mentioned, independent judicial officers who are assistant coroners. And we have about half a dozen assistant coroners that will hold inquest courts in West Sussex, appointed and funded by the local authority. As I said, that's West Sussex County Council, based at Orchard Street, which is in Chichester, answerable to the Lord Chancellor and also the Chief Coroner of England and Wales, which is a new appointment back in 2013.
I've just got a few questions. Firstly, do you go out personally to these different locations and speak to witnesses?
Yes, yes, I do. Sometimes we do. I'll introduce myself to family members or witnesses, and I'll ask them if they could provide a short statement or a small report just covering the person that has sadly passed away. Okay. Usually about a page and a half on an A4. I'm fact-finding only. I'm not digging for information that's going to be detrimental to anybody.
Okay. Do people get very emotional often, or
yes.
can you find a way to make them relax? Or
yeah, I'm quite a calming person. As you can tell from this interview, I don't stop talking. I've got a lot of knowledge and a lot of information to give. In my short career, I've only been doing this role for 2.5 years. I did another job in the police service before then, but I try to understand where people are coming from. I do appreciate that it's a very sad time, and I try to move the process along as smoothly as possible, and 9 times out of 10 people aren't upset when they meet me because they know I've got a job to do. Okay. And that's basically how it works.
Okay, I've got one last question. Do you ever get a bit emotional yourself with working and thinking about death on a regular basis?
I used to. I am human after all, even though the word coroner or coroner's service or death used to be a taboo subject and people didn't really want to talk about it. I do get emotional. I have children myself, so sadly if I deal with a child death, I do find that quite emotional. Or a young person that hasn't had a life, you know, a 16-year-old or a 20-year-old that's had no life. But what I try to do, I try to focus on why I'm there, why I'm trying to offer this service to people, and to get, I won't say conclusion, but to try and get answers for the people that are still here. So yeah, I do get emotional, but I do bottle it in because I am a professional.
Yeah, this is Happy Valley. Originally, 100 years ago, it was a barracks holding hundreds, possibly thousands of men. Now it's just a farm, really. Just a little horse field. A few months ago, we were here doing an excavation. We found quite a few interesting stuff, actually. It's just a small part of the entire camp, though. The rest of it is over there. Thousands of people, ammunitions, weapons, a huge facility across all these rolling hills. Unbelievable.
So have you found any like World War I stuff like while you've been here, or?
We have.
What have you found?
We found, well, Ashley's found the horseshoe, which was down in our courtyard.
All right.
I think they kept the horses there, so it's very heavy metal. You'll be able to see it in a minute.
Now we're going to go off into the unknown. We're going to take a walk down this path here. Like I said, we haven't been down here before. We don't know what we're going to find, but it's exciting. I mean, I know it's hard to imagine, but all of this huge, expansive vista was just covered in tents and barracks. And again, I'm not too sure what was going on here exactly, but no, it's very, very odd to think about. Unfortunately, a lot of the people who came here didn't ever leave. That's what this documentary is going to be about, the deaths that occurred at this camp. I mean, most people think about the deaths happening on the battlefield, you know, Battle of the Somme, stuff like that, but there are lots of tragic stories actually about people who never even made it out of the training camp.
And how did you know Joseph?
Joe and I were both in the 10th Brigade of the Canadian Expedition. We were both stationed at Shoreham Army Camp together.
And what can you remember about the day he died?
It started just as a normal day in the camp. It was a fairly dry, sunny, typical day in May. In the morning, Joe said he felt a bit ill, and if he wasn't going to get better, he was going to see the medical officer. I just assumed it was a cold or something, really. At about 1:45, I was training on the firing point in the rifle range, and he was positioned in the phone box just opposite myself. Anyway, he came over to me and he asked if he could have a cigarette. At the time I thought nothing of it, so I gave him one, and he went off, and not shortly after he called me over, so I went over to him, and he said he'd been sick. So I helped him down to the floor and I unclothed him, and he suddenly vomited. He was sick again, and he said that he was experiencing pains in his head and his chest.
What did you do next?
I informed the officer in charge of the range, and then he took over.
Tell us what happened when you got to the scene.
So I got to the scene, and I saw Joe was lying down on the floor, and I'd noticed he was unconscious. He'd been vomiting as well, so I requested that a medical officer came to see him. So he examined the deceased, and he requested that he were to be sent to a hospital immediately.
What happened after the ambulance arrived?
Joe was moved to the 2nd Eastern General Hospital in Dyke Road. I accompanied him there. We were waiting about 20 minutes or so, and before he was taken to the St Mark's School Branch, Kemptown, but the deceased died just before we arrived.
I realise this must be hard for you.